Okay, we were just talking about integrating the individual user account. Instead of like creating our own user ID and password, we want to be able to use the Google account. So I'm just like going to like do a sample on the Google, and you can like try out like Facebook and other sites. They all have this common API integration steps that we can follow and then integrate that. If you do one, it's kind of similar for all the other ones. So let's look at that. If you go into under App Start, startup.auth.cs, so here what's going on is configure authentication. How to configure authentication, right? So if you see here, there's a whole bunch of commented code. This comes as whenever we chose the authentication method, it automatically comes with the code. So you can see there is code for Microsoft authentication, Twitter, Facebook, and Google authentication. Okay. What we are going to be using is Google. So if you want to use an authentication provider, for example, you have to like uncomment this code. Otherwise, it doesn't know how to access that. Like for example, if I go in here to login, oh, it's not running. The application is not running. So if you see here on the right side, you can see use another service to log in. That is there, but then it says there are no external authentication services configured. This is because all of this code is commented out. So we have not like enabled any of the external configurations to be available for us. So if we want to change that, we can just uncomment these lines here. I'm going to only do for Google. So let's try to understand like what this means. Again, like I said, the OAuth is a method of authentication. This uses a client ID and like a client secret, which is like a password. So the way it works is, if I am creating the web application, I have to go to Google and register my application. When I register my application, what happens is Google gives me a client ID and a client secret. Then I bring the client ID and client secret, and then I put it inside my startup.auth.cs. Of course, there could be like other better ways of doing it, but for simplicity, let's just look at that. This is like, especially like for an application that will be deployed in production, this ID and secret has to be like really kept a secret, like how we would protect our user ID and password. Otherwise, there could be like a malicious attempt on, our application. So this is going to establish the connection between Google and our application. So once that happens, what happens is when we turn this code on, a Google button is going to appear on our web page. When we click the Google button, it is going to like ask us, either give us an option to log into Google, like a Google Gmail, or it would be, if you already have like multiple Gmail accounts like I do, it's going to show you which account do you want to use to like authenticate. And then once you choose that, it's going to authenticate and see if you really are who you say you are. And if you are the trusted, you are an authentic member, based upon your user ID and password, Google is going to like send a secret token or code back to the application, letting them know that everything's fine. So you will be getting like an association form. The association form is where Google is confirming that you are an authenticated user, and it's going to like return that information back to your application. So your application can use that authentication information and then log you in as a user, as opposed to having anonymous access. When you're not logged in, like guest login type thing, especially in Tricy when we do the Wi-Fi, we have like the guest access and the student access. So like the guest access is kind of like what an anonymous access is. Like we are like a nobody, so you get like limited access type of thing. Okay, so now let's talking more doing. Let's just like take a look to how we can get this client ID and the client secret. So for this, you actually have to like go into something called as Google API console. Google API console. So I actually have the Google API console here. So if you want, what you do is you just go and Google it. Google API developer console. You have to just go into it. Okay, so because I already have it open and I have a specific user ID that I want to use. This is from another test I did, so I'm going to log off of this. Okay, I think my ID is kind of messed up now. Let me go back to the ID I had before. So basically you have to log in with the user ID. That's the idea, right? So what happens is this Google, it's a little confusing. If you go to Google APIs, click on Google APIs, right? So, so there's dashboard, library, and credentials. So if you go to library, it will show you all the available APIs. So first what you have to do is you got to scroll down, and this is a very important step. You don't choose the Gmail API. You do not choose that. You keep going till you find the social and click on Google Plus API. Oh, I used it for another project, so I have to like, I'm creating a new project. Okay, let me retrace my step back. Okay, so I am in my account. I just logged into my account. So what I do is, if you see here, if you don't have any project here, it will be blank. I already have a project, so it's showing me something. So you can like click here to create a new project. So your project that you're going to test, it has to be defined here. So log into using, this is going to be the name of the project that I set up to connect the Google API with my application. So it's going to be login using Google.